Hi everyone, welcome to Psychedelic Science Conference. We are here to witness an historic event. We have, I think, 11,000 people, attendees coming to learn more about psychedelics and their benefits in therapeutic use. We're here for the next 3 days intensely, speaking to many leaders in the space and bringing you so much more news and updates. So stay tuned. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode, another conversation in Denver Psychedelic Science 2023. And I have with me a beautiful lady who's doing an amazing work, and I happen to discover her here, Heather Smith. She is a licensed professional counselor, certified IFS therapist, and psychedelic integration consultant. And she's the founder of the Moxie School. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much.
So let's, I would like to hear your background. What brings you to this work, if you want to share with our listeners, because they do love a bit of a story of your background to connect, and what brings you to this work.
Sure, yeah. So the way I ultimately came to this work was I asked this question one day: how do people heal?
Yeah.
And I just opened my private practice, and I suddenly was kind of struck with this accountability for how am I truly helping people. And it felt like all of my education up to that point didn't really suffice. It didn't feel sufficient to bring like deep change. And so I literally asked the question out loud. I was like, how do people heal? And over the next couple months, this is all in retrospect, of course, IFS came into my life. And then on the heels of IFS, psychedelic-assisted therapy was introduced to me. And when I watched some MDMA clinical trials, some of those recordings, I was like, what is happening here? And I was very magnetized to it. And I took a very deep dive to learn more. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I know we talked about, before we went live, we talked about being a therapist and still kind of having the imposter, at least not knowing, actually, how do we help people?
Right.
I think a lot of therapists might resonate with this, right?
Yeah.
So having a certification or going through the whole traditional education path is not enough to help people, right?
That's right.
So that's why we call psychedelic medicines, I call them medicines, are the breakthrough alternative, not alternative, but one of my guests said, she said, it's the original medicine, it's not the alternative. So it's kind of like returning back to something that is so powerful and has or carries the potential to help us finally help people break through.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
Just Band-Aid on symptom management as we spoke.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel going through all the education, opening your space? Okay, people, come here. Now I'm a therapist. I'm here to help you, but still not sure how.
It's kind of upsetting. It's like, wow, I paid a couple $100,000 for my education and I still don't know how to help people. A little bit overwhelming. So it's frustrating. And I talk to a lot of therapists who feel very similar, that they feel like they didn't get sufficient education on how to truly help people heal or change. And so I think it's a real issue in our specific field, and particularly in Western culture, of like, how do people really feel better through these mental illnesses and things that we deem a mental illness? Ultimately, I believe that that like we are actually the medicine. That psychedelics, dance, breath work, all sorts of different modes are also medicines that help support us. But ultimately, I believe the true, like the highest self of who we are is the ultimate healer of ourselves, and that the medicine brings us back into contact with that. And I think that that's where we really heal, is through connection. So
I love that. So I'm hearing therapy is critical.
Yes.
The therapist is the mediator between whichever the chosen medicine, whether psychedelics, breathwork, meditation, whatever the modality is. There's a modality, and then the person, and then the therapist in the middle, mediating, connecting with the client or the person, and then helping them activate their own inner resources, which is the medicine you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
The inner healing intelligence, we call it, right?
Exactly. It's that inner healing intelligence, the self, the soul, whatever you want to name it. It's getting back into connection with that.
Yeah.
And there's tons of stuff that keeps us in disconnection, right? And so it's through healing all the things that keep us disconnected.
Yeah.
And the medicine and psychedelics specifically, that's the breakthrough that we're seeing because they're so powerful to illuminate that which keeps us in disconnection and bring us back into that self-connection, that alignment within of who we truly are.
Yeah.
That brings all of this to this beautiful healing space.
Yeah. That is the most powerful thing, because understanding that actually can change the way we see them and how we integrate them.
Yes. Yes.
How we bring them home, because I'm also really saddened by the fact that growing weekend medicine sessions or ceremonies, that people are continually drinking ayahuasca or other medicines, ingesting other medicines every weekend for that high.
Yes. Yeah.
The serotonin dump, but nothing is coming home with them.
That's right. Yeah. So, and we have to be in right relationship with medicine, right? Yeah. Knowing its place and how it's to be used, truly, in my opinion, in a sacred way is preferable. And that it's not the substance itself that we're going after. This is I think the differentiation people need to be really clear about. It's not the psychedelic. It's the psychedelic is a tool to you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what needs to be emphasized is how do you give back to you?
Yeah.
Right? It's not about constantly dosing.
Yeah. Again, that kind of speaks to the mentality of the Western world of outsourcing and always, playing our cards of like, I need something from outside.
Yes.
And I need it as long as I live and die. Like I need always something from outside.
Absolutely. That is so ingrained in our culture that we need a guru or a savior or something outside of us, a pill to fix me, to help me, right? Yeah. There's something outside of me that knows better than I do. And I don't think that's the truth. I think we have everything we need right in here.
Yeah.
Right? All the wisdom, all the knowledge of how to, but accessing that is where we need facilitation and guidance and help. Mentorship to get that.
That's why I'm really passionate about highly qualified, trained therapists who have done their own work and are walking the path simultaneously, continually evolving and descending.
Yes.
Ascension.
Yep.
And I think I'm going to be honest and literally say out here that we need to stop this idea of ascension.
Yeah.
Again, it's another perpetual thing that helping people to reinforce not wanting to be in the body.
Yeah.
And not wanting to be in their lives.
Yeah. The reality is this is an opportunity to be incarnated. This is actually a beautiful privilege and a gift to be in this body.
Yeah.
And to try to send it and leave it and get beyond this human experience is like kind of it's not acknowledging the beauty of this opportunity to be here now. And so this idea of instead of always trying to ascend out of this experience, but descending into like being human and really appreciating it feels so much more interesting and rich to me.
Yeah. And that's someone who you can tell if obviously you have done your work. People who do their work, I can sense they always appreciate being in the body.
Yeah.
The beauty of life. And
I love this body.
Right.
So it's fun to be in it.
Right. So that's kind of like, we talked about how do you define if someone's have done their work? How do you define? Obviously, it's not defined by how many layers of crystals and feathers they're wearing. Mm-hmm. Or do you know what I mean? I'm not dismiss any of that. This is a beautiful thing. If it's your thing, like beautiful, but it's about not having a good communication skills and disconnect from everyone in their family or siblings and children and parents, and then continually chasing the enlightenment. I think that's a really...
Yeah. I think it reflects, as we keep working on ourselves, and I do believe, I actually named one of my programs in the Moxie School the Healing Healers Mentorship Program, because I've heard of wounded healers, and I'm like, no, we don't need to be wounded healers. We need to be healing healers, because every therapist needs to be doing their own work. And I think one of the ways to start to see those increments and shifts of healing and change in our own lives is, how am I interrelating with other people? Am I still losing my shit and going off on people and highly reactive and, full of anger? Or am I, seeing myself slowly become more patient and thoughtful and curious and able to hold space for another person's experience?
Yeah.
And even just get with myself, right? Like kind of in IFS, we talk about doing a U-turn, which is where I pause and allow myself to get curious about, whoa, wait, something just happened for me. What just got activated, right? And so I think that we see those increments and shifts of how we're doing our work in the way that we're living our lives and interacting with other humans.
Absolutely.
So,
as you said this, let's go to the IFS model.
Sure.
I love that you talk about IFS. I know that it's becoming really huge in the space of psychedelic integration. And why do you think that is? Why is it so popular? Why is it gaining more credit, let's say, because people do love it and they find it very helpful?
Yes, it's becoming super popular. So a couple of factors, I think. One is partially in the MAPS MDMA clinical trials. IFS was not declared as a clinical variable, but they added to the therapeutic, modalities for that. However, several of the therapists in those clinical trials are IFS trained, and so they come from that kind of background and perspective. And in addition to that, they actually found that 78% of participants in the MDMA clinical trials organically talked about parts of themselves, just naturally, without even being
exposed to the
model. It just naturally came up. So the beauty of IFS is that it's actually already, the fact that we have parts of ourselves just is truth, right? Like IFS didn't make that up. That already exists in humans. And so IFS is just naming what's already in there. And so when people experience this type of therapy, it's so resonant because it's just like, oh yeah, that's all in there. It's just so organic. So I think people are really connecting to it on a very authentic level.
And also gives them a language to work with. What is actually going on internally? What is my internal affairs looking like?
Totally.
It's like my favorite metaphor is it's like a out of tune orchestra.
And I love that.
Once you understand and give it a language, then you can put things in tune, like get in tune
totally
with what's going on. So I do that approach.
Yeah.
So the Moxie School.
Yes.
Tell us what you do, what you offer, what's it all about. And
sure.
What does Moxie stand for?
Well, wonderful questions. So first, the name, the Moxie School. Kind of a funny story, I guess. I have never felt like my name Heather fits me very well. It feels too soft and feathery or something. And so at one point I was like, I wonder if I want to change my name. And so I was kind of contemplating it and meditating on it. And one day I just like gave a lot of attention to it. And all of a sudden, these names started coming to me. And I was like, well, these are not names I would have ever picked for myself. And the first word was Elizabeth. I was like, I was like, Elizabeth, why is Elizabeth coming up? And then a few moments later, this word Moxie came up. And then I put it together and it was Elizabeth Moxie. And I was like, that actually sounds really good. In the end, I decided not to change my name. But as I was contemplating this school of teaching the synthesis of IFS and psychedelic-assisted therapy, I was really inspired by the word Moxie. And the word Moxie stands for like spark or effervescence, this kind of energetic kind of edginess, right? And apparently in the 1950s, there was a soda named Moxie. So kind of describes that.
Kind of connected.
Yeah. So energetically, I felt like I have a lot of Moxie. And anyway, so I ended up deciding to apply that name to my school that I've created to teach this kind of IFS-informed psychedelic-assisted therapy. And I teach it to therapists, coaches, guides, really anybody who's curious about learning parts work as it applies to working with expanded states of consciousness. And so I just believe anybody who's curious to learn about this type of way of working is welcome to join my programs.
I love that. So we'll be sharing all your links. We'll add it on to the show notes and people can connect and find you. And one last question, what brings you to conference? I know we randomly met. Nothing is a random thing, but you have a lovely booth upstairs.
Yes, thank you.
So tell us what brings you to the conference.
Well, I love this work so much. It's truly my passion. And it felt like this beautiful opportunity to really get the Moxie School out. I've been in practice with it for 1.5 years now. And so when I saw the opportunity to have a booth, I thought, I've got to be there. And I love hearing all the different conference speakers and that sort of thing. So it just felt like a really beautiful opportunity to connect with community and share what I love most. And yeah, I'm just like very happy to be here.
I know. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah.
And we'll connect.
So good to meet you.
I know. Yeah. So you do also probably think or feel the same. I feel like we are witnessing a historical event here in the heart of Denver.
Yes, truly.
I mean, I keep talking about this. I can't stop talking about this. Even the Uber drivers that bring us here and take us home.
Yeah.
They're so chuffed and so like they're so in pride saying, yeah, we're hosting this. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's so good.
It is. And yesterday it was Roland Griffin's dinner, and I found myself bursting in tears 3-4 times. It's just what was happening was just incredible.
Yeah.
And on our table there was this gentleman, and he was talking about. He asked me what I do, and I said, I'm interviewing, and I'm here.
Yeah.
With my media, and he said, it must be really hard work for you to always trying to create content and find people to interview. I said, no. I said, that's like far from it. Because I have people literally just, bursting to talk about it with passion. And he said, oh, I get it. Because he was an investor, and he said, oh, I get it. It's because this area of psychedelic space is...
Yeah.
You find people that come here for passion, not because they have to.
Absolutely.
And I said exactly that. And sometimes we go over like hour talking about these things, and I have to like come to end because it's just like never-ending conversations.
Yeah. Well, it's easy when you love what you do and you have that passion and you so believe in it so deeply. Yeah, it's fun and easy to talk about.
And this is exactly what I'm experiencing with you and with everyone I'm meeting.
Yeah.
That there's always something to talk about. It's never an awkward silent moment. There's always something interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So beautiful. So thank you again for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
We'll be following you and your work and hopefully having you back because we love returning guests.
I love that.
And we want to build connection, relationship. And if our listeners were connected to you, and we'll have your links, they can connect.
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.